Hi, it's Paul from Wicked Acorn. Today we're going to Broadheath in Altrincham. Come on! We're going to take a look at the Linotype Building. This place, or actually a photo of this place, is what sparked my interest in the history of this area when we first moved here. I had no idea what it was, or even where it was. Broadheath could have been 100 miles away for all I knew at the time. But there was something about it. Those bold letters on a brick building alongside the canal. Businessmen in bowler hats and umbrellas. It somehow summed up my mental image of Manchester. The Industrial Revolution, men and machines, canal boats queuing to drop off coal and take away whatever it was they made in there. Here it is, the Linotype Building, or at least what's left of it. But what is it? What did they do in there? Well, obviously they made linotype machines. But what's a linotype machine? It was the biggest breakthrough in printing since Gutenberg invented his press around 1440. Thomas Edison called it the eighth wonder of the world. A newspaper could print thousands of pages in an hour, but the process of getting the words from the writer's page to the press was very time-consuming. It hadn't changed much in 400 years. In 1897, they started making the machine known as the Linotype, here in the world's first industrial park in Broadheath. The machine revolutionized the printing industry, and soon machines made right here were in use all over the world. Until the Linotype machine came along, no newspaper in the world had more than 8 pages. That's difficult to understand nowadays. A lot of people will ask, what's a newspaper? It's difficult to get perspective from a land of inkjet and laser printers in your dining room to the land of linotype machines. The press had improved, but typesetting remained much the same. The real genius of Gutenberg's press was the movable type. He made molds for the letters and cast them in lead. You could then pick out each letter and punctuation mark and assemble them into sentences and paragraphs. It was tediously slow, and it was done this way until the Linotype machine came along. A newspaper press would have dozens of typesetters, hundreds of trays filled with all the letters and characters needed. The first skill is being able to read mirror image upside down letters and writing. It's where the expression, mind your P's and Q's comes from. It was a warning to apprentice typesetters. When you want a lowercase q, you need to pick out what looks like a lowercase p, and vice versa. A rookie mistake that was made countless times, no doubt. Ottmar Mergenthaler, a German clockmaker living in America, was approached to solve the problem. He came up with the idea of assembling metallic letter molds and casting molten metal into them, all in a single machine. The name of the machine comes from the fact that it produces an entire line of metal type all at once, hence a linotype. The machine was a work of genius. No more sorting and picking out all those individual letters. The linotypist simply sat at his machine and typed his page of text. Each keyboard stroke dropped a letter down into a slot. When he got to the end of a line of text, molten lead was injected into the line of text mold. And there you have it, a linotype. Lather, rinse, repeat until you're finished your article. Assemble them into a page and start printing. It's a fascinating mechanical clockwork computer. It cut down on labor and saved space, revolutionizing typesetting. One linotypist could do the work of 6 people setting type by hand. The Linotype Company started life at Hume Street, Oxford Road, Manchester, with a factory assembling machines and making some of the simpler parts. The Hume Street factory soon became overcrowded, and in 1896 the Linotype Company made plans for a new factory here in Broadheath Industrial Park. It was like a company town. Between 1897 and 1901, the Linotype Company built 185 houses for its employees and their families. The estate had tree-lined roads, and each house had a garden to the front and rear. It was within walking distance of Altrincham town centre. There were 2 football grounds, a cricket ground, 4 tennis courts, 2 bowling greens, a children's playground, allotments let to employees at nominal rents, and a wooded park for workers' recreation. But most importantly, the rent was about half the going rate. It quickly became the place to work. The factory was said to be light and airy with large clean dining rooms where food was sold at cost price. Makes you wonder where we went wrong. During both world wars, the factory was turned over to production for the war effort. The plant was working to such a high standard that some of the companies it was producing parts for stopped making them, leaving the work to Linotype. After the Second World War, they had a backlog of orders, and things were looking good for the Linotype company. But the times were a-changin'. Like all technology-based industry, you have to keep up. By the 1960s, the printing industry had moved on to a new method of typesetting, photocomposition. The plant's machinery was out of date, and over the next few decades, the company saw a steady decline. In 2001, there were only a handful of employees left, and the company was divided into separate groups. Eventually, the smaller groups closed down or moved away from the area. In the words of Stephen Wright, "You can't have everything, and where would you put it?" The building is now Grade 2 listed. There are apartments and offices and such. It's a shadow of its former self, but it's still something to be proud of. It's a beautiful building, and it's a reminder of what we can still do if we put our minds to it. Hold the press! I'm not even finished editing this video, and I'm just finding out now that there's a full-length feature documentary called Linotype the Film. It's an American documentary, so no doubt they'll have a different perspective on this. I haven't seen it yet, but I'll put a link in the description.